Part 5 of verifying the date format of an input string. Now we have actually written our 3 core functions. Now we will review the date validation function that we wrote in the previous part of this series. Okay, so we just finished our coding example of our most recent function. And now let's take a moment to examine the if-elif ladder that we used in that code. And you see it here being displayed. Now, many of you may be unfamiliar with the way this ladder is being laid out, but it does read very well and look very nice. Everything is lined up. But usually the block of the if is on a separate line immediately after the colon. So you may not be familiar with the ladder being written in this one-line form. You may be familiar with it being written thusly. Notice here, this is the classical way to write the ladder. Notice it's not quite as compact. It's essentially the same. The returns, which are the body of each of the clauses, are on their own line, comprising the block. But when we really think about it, it looks better. To many, it would look better this way. Now, you can only do it this way when the body of each of these clauses is a single statement. And here they're almost all, well, they are all return true. I could have written this return false on the same line as the else colon, but I went ahead and separated that to make it look more like the classical structure that you would be familiar with seeing. So this is completely acceptable only because the body of each of these clauses is a single line. And it's fine if you want to write your code looking like this. It's still eminently readable. It's a little less concise or compact. Now let's look at this code once more. So when we see this code, notice I wrote it because I wanted to concentrate on all those months that had 31 days first, then 30 days, and then lastly February. But we could have written it to where the months were in a more natural linear order. January, then February, then March, etc. Had we done that, that would have been fine, and the code would have looked like this. Here we have the months in order. All it does is change the sequence of the elifs in the ladder, which does not impact the logic at all. So this is how it may be written if you liked the months to be written in order. No substantive difference. Now, you can see when you look at in the original writing where you have all the 31 days first, notice you may think that this could be compactified. It can. So we write a different logical structure and not have 6 elif clauses to handle the months with 31 days. We could do it with an or condition. Similarly, we can compactify these 4 elifs into one conditional, and I'll show you how that looks now. Now, this is how it may look. It's a little smaller because I wanted to get everything on one line and not write it in a multi-line way, which could have been done. This is much more compact. We have the first 7 clauses being written in the if. Let's go back. Here we had the if followed by the 6 elif clauses. Let's see, the thing that makes it work is all these are the same, yet these are all different. So really we're saying if the month is equal to 1, or the month is equal to 3, or the month is equal to 5, etc., and the days between 1 and 31, then we want to return true. This is in fact what I'm doing here. And similarly, we can do the same type of thing with those 30-day months, April, June, September, and November, and you get a much shorter ladder. To me, this doesn't, it's logically equivalent, but to me, this doesn't read as well, but you're free to make this change. I wanted you to know you could write it certainly more compactly than I did in the original very flat example. Again, with this formulation, we have a long string of or statements. What we can do, we can extract that as a Boolean variable and write, in essence, this block of code a little more succinctly as well. So here, notice I call my Boolean variable month 31, standing for those months with 31 days, and that string of or conditions is there. I create a Boolean variable month 30, followed by 4 or statements. And then this ladder that we looked at a moment ago can be written thusly a lot more compactly. Again, you sacrifice a little bit in readability, but I think it's pretty clear what's going on. Again, I wanted to show you another alternative to the way that code could have been written. Now, moving forward. In our next phase, we're going to need to do basically two more things. We're going to need, and the first one's very, very simple, we need to convert the month number, like 1 for January, to a string. January, see this here. This is a simple function. I'm calling it getMonthName, whose input is month. We're going to return the string representation of the month. So instead of 1, we'll return January. Instead of 6, we'll return June. So a simple elif ladder filters what the appropriate response would be. We store that into month string, and we return that to the user. Now, for the last bit of the code, almost the last bit, there's one other thing too. We need, if I remember the reporting, if it's the first day of the month, you want the suffix to be st. If it's the second day of the month, you want it to be nd. If it's the third day of the month, you want it to be rd, like third, and then fourth is th. After that, you have ths. So we need to do that too. That's another simple filtering or ladder. But for this next bit, we need to convert the date, such as November 22nd, 2022, to a Thursday. And we have well-known congruence for that. It's called Zeller's congruence. The code is here. We pass in our month, day, and year, which we've already determined whether the string format is correct. We simply extract the information, convert it to integers, which we did, in fact, in the last routine. Pass that to this function called getDayOfWeek, and it will return Saturday through Friday using Zeller's congruence. So let's incorporate these two functions into our code. We'll see how it runs, and that will leave us, if I recall, just one thing to do. I'm Tim Sever. Thank you for joining me for this video installment. Like the video, comment below if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe for updates regarding videos on this channel.